Welcome, everybody. I have a question for you. Have you struggled with dating with intention or being courted as a woman who knows that you're more in your masculine? Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Nicole. Welcome back to the channel where I talk all about feminine energy, relationships, and healthy boundaries. So, I want you to really tell me, answer this question for yourself. Have you struggled, particularly as a woman who might be more in her masculine? You might even label yourself as a masculine woman, or you know that that's your energy. And have you struggled to date with intention or to be courted uh with that as your primary energy? Okay, so I want to talk about 5 tips for women just like you, right? We know in this landscape with relationships, so much it's almost like chaos out there, right? I hear from women all of the time that as we're going into 2024, they're hearing about the feminine energy and the femininity, but they're feeling discouraged because they haven't quite gotten there with their own feminine energy. They're feeling discouraged about what they feel is they're pessimistic about the relationship and dating landscape, about how to attract healthy relationships. And it can feel like sometimes it can feel like you might just want to give up, right? So I want to talk about 5 things that you can really start to hone in on, especially as a woman who is more dominant in your masculine energy. This is so important because you really have to know how to understand yourself and navigate preferences, right? You're talking about wanting to get into relationships. And that's what I mean when I say dating with intention or being courted. You have to be aware of your preferences. You have to be aware of the preferences that are out there. You have to be aware of like where things are headed in society. And one issue that so many women have is, one, they feel they're extra in their masculine. They feel like they've had to be like that for different circumstances, different reasons. And then also, a lot of women who've achieved a lot have somehow had to cut off, they feel, from their feminine energy. So they feel like they're going out into this relationship landscape more in their masculine. Okay. So if this is you, you're not alone. So rather than only talk about how first to get in your feminine, I want to talk about what do you do if you're in that space where you know you're more in your masculine. And I'm going to tell you this. Here's a secret. The more you lean into um, trying to attract a man who's more in his masculine, because this is the thing, a lot of times women will want, whether they're more in their masculine or not, they want a masculine man, right? So we kind of, sometimes people are like, well, how is that going to work if you're more in your masculine? So you have to start with the idea that, yes, it's okay to want a man who's more in his masculine, who is a masculine man, even though you might be more in your masculine. But to know that these tips I'm going to give you are going to help you to soften up. So you don't have to 100% wait until your feminine energy is more balanced out. By enacting these tips and by knowing that your goal is to date with intention and be courted by a masculine man, you are going to make progress in this area. You're going to experience a shift. Okay. So let's talk about what are these. So, first is really embrace your feminine essence. For whatever the reason that you're more in your masculine, try to be aware of any resistance you have inside to connecting to your softer side, your more receptive side, your femininity, right? There's been so much bad programming where women feel like connecting to that side is going to make them weak or make them feel like they're being taken advantage of, they're not being, who they authentically are. And that is not true. Your authentic self is connected to your feminine essence. So it's really opening yourself up to that and doing things like giving yourself time to slow down, going out into nature, being able to journal or move your body, get connected to your body. Learn to value your feminine essence. And that's going to come out as you start to navigate relationships, especially if you're looking to be courted, you're looking for a healthy marriage, a healthy, committed relationship. You're going to have to really tap into that side because let me tell you something, no masculine man wants to come home to another man. So learn to really value and respect and embrace your feminine essence. Number two is learn to balance your assertiveness and with vulnerability. So you want to balance between assertiveness and vulnerability. And I know that it's right. You need to be able to express and communicate your needs. You need to be able to assert your needs. You need to be able to have boundaries so that they protect your well-being. But so many of us, so many women who are in their masculine, they go to an extreme with this, right? It's all about what I am and what I'm not going to do. It's all about just asserting and telling and communicating. And there isn't really a space for vulnerability. And vulnerability is actually a strength. It's an important part of connecting in your relationship. And it's also a strength, right? We might think of, well, how is vulnerability a strength? It's a strength because it shows that you have an inner confidence. In order to be vulnerable, you have to also be secure because you're allowing yourself to open up. So you want to think about, especially as you're going out and you're meeting people, are you coming off as only assertive? Like that's the main energy that comes out. Or are you coming off as you can also receive, you can also share parts of yourself that are not the picture perfect image parts. So I tell women a lot of times, I'll see women say, but I look good. I just, my femininity, I got my hair done and my nails done and I did this, that, and the other. That is not it, right? That's equivalent to just putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. So if you're still in your masculine where you have not learn to balance out the assertiveness with the vulnerability, then it doesn't matter how good you look, quote unquote, it's still going to come off in an unbalanced way. So really learn to balance that assertiveness with vulnerability. Number three is practice active listening. Practice not always leading in the conversation. Learn that dance, the back and forth, the give and take, where you can display that you can tune in and actively listen and be present versus being the one that's the one that's mainly talking, leading the conversation, asking a bunch of questions. Allow yourself to fall back, right? That's part of being in the receiving mode. And that allows you to show that you can display empathy and understanding and not being quick to react, right? That's a level of emotional intelligence to be able to actively listen. So sometimes when women are more in their masculine, they feel like they need to be assertive and lead conversations and make sure they know where things are going, right? It kind of gives a feel of you're not willing to go with the flow. Okay. Now, going with the flow doesn't mean you go with the flow to end up somewhere that you didn't want to go, right? You're still mindful of what's happening, and the active listening will actually help you to get more in tune with what you're picking up on with your partner or potential partner. Okay. So it's that active listening part really helps you to tap into not only your vulnerability, but the dance of communication where you can have empathy, understanding, and show that you don't always have to be the one leading everything. Number four is allow him to lead, right? I hear so many complaints once women are in marriages or they're engaged in a long-term relationship. It's like, he's not leading. Like, why isn't he leading? Or I hear like, I, you know, I'll fall back once he leads. Well, sometimes so many women in their masculine are used to taking charge and being the leaders. And that's actually gotten them to what they feel is a level of success in some areas of their life. But in a relationship, especially if you want to attract and be courted by a healthy masculine man, you have to have respect for the leadership, the masculine leadership. So allow him to plan your outings, allow him to lead or steer the conversation, allow him to follow up on the details and to reach out to you, right? Learn not to be so reactive where it's like if you haven't heard anything in 5 minutes, you're there like texting, calling, trying to reach out, trying to make things happen, right? Fall back, let him lead, let him plan, and let him share with you what his vision is, either for that day, that date that you're going on, or for other areas or direction for where things are going for you all, right? You can pick up on things, which is going to lead to tip number 5, without always having, a series of, rapid fire questions, direct questions. Sometimes when you're in your masculine, it's about, I need to know this, I need to know that, I need to clarify this, I need to clarify that. That is a lot. That can be overwhelming. It can also be somewhat off putting. And really, what it does is it shows that you're like in an anxious state versus allowing yourself to like come down. The answer is going to come. Give him a chance to lead, to follow up, to present to you either what the plans are, what his vision is, and then you can respond to that, right? So let him lead, give him space to lead, okay? And finally, tip number 5, this kind of pulls it all together. That is, trust your intuition. That is one of your core strengths as a woman who's in touch with her femininity and her feminine essence. And so when you've been in masculine mode, you've been in over logic mode, disconnecting from some of your emotions and your ability to be present and be vulnerable. So learn to reconnect to your intuition. What is your gut telling you? What reactions are you even noticing in your body and your thoughts when you're with this person? So if you've done those things, you've been actively listening, you've allowed him to lead, you have balanced out your vulnerability and your assertiveness, right? You're working on reconnecting with your feminine essence, then trust. That's what allows you to trust what you're feeling about this person. When you trust your intuition, you listen to that little voice inside, that inner knowing that lets you know. You don't even have to always go ask your girlfriends or ask somebody else. You know, by the time you're asking someone else, you pretty much know, and you're looking for validation and confirmation. So part of it too is having like one trusted person, but not always going to a whole group of people, because they can be depending on how much, where they are with their views of relationships and things like that, they can be giving out a lot of negative projections, right? So trusting your intuition, that inner knowing, if something is off and it's not aligned, it's not adding up, then, pause and take notice of that. It doesn't mean you automatically cut things off, but it's something to observe and maybe be a little bit more cautious or aware. Also, there's a difference between intuition and trauma triggers. Sometimes when our traumas get triggered, we shut down, we feel like we're in danger, we feel hypersensitive to rejection, or we're going to be hurt or abandoned, or whatever our original traumas were. And we either get hyper aroused, like we're hype. We want to fight, we want to flee, we want to freeze. Intuition is completely different. Intuition, your body is calm. Your mind is in a state of awareness because it's calm. And you're listening to that feeling inside and that voice inside that is going to lead you in the right direction. Now, if you've been following social media, you know there have been so many different firsthand accounts, especially on TikTok. There was the whole, who the F did I marry? Where women are talking about, and men too, but these stories are women talking about being scammed and duped and taken advantage of. I mean, you could even look at any Lifetime movie on the Lifetime channel. They have this theme, like a woman fell for this charming guy. He seemed like he was everything. Maybe he had all of the superficial masculine traits, but he was not sincere. Maybe he was a narcissist. He wasn't a good person. Your intuition is going to be the thing that protects you from that. But first, you have to learn to tune into it and learn how to trust it versus being cut off from it. And so that's where, especially number one, comes into play. Take time to pause and journal. Take time to pause and reflect. Do breathing exercises and allow yourself to be silent each and every day, either in the morning or at night. Give yourself a chance to just be silent and connect with yourself and see what your intuition tells you. Okay? All right, ladies. So if this is you, you're more in your masculine, you're having trouble dating with intention, you're having trouble being courted by the masculine man that you want, you have to learn to, first of all, make a shift from that masculine energy. And these are the ways you do it: reconnect with your feminine energy, balance out assertiveness with vulnerability, be able to actively listen, let him lead, and trust your intuition. Okay. Tell me what you all think in the comments. Are you more in your masculine mode? Do you want to make a shift for 2024? If so, you want to make sure you sign up for my challenge. The link is in the show notes. My challenge is the Flourish in Your Femininity 3-day challenge. We talk about how to invite more ease and flow and softness in your life, how to have that with balanced, healthy boundaries, and how to communicate. Use the power of your feminine influence in communication in your relationships. Okay. So you want to sign up at the link in the show notes. And I'm wishing you happy relationships in 2024. Take care, everybody.